Hi, grade 4. Today we're going to be talking about interpreting remainders. So we've done this in multiplication before. Hopefully you guys remember that. I know it's been a long time, but that will be handy when we start doing this lesson. So there's 3 different ways to use remainders. Maybe you guys remember these from when we did multiplication. Hopefully you do, but it's okay if you don't. I'll teach you how to use them. So the first way is round up the quotient. So we just round the number up one higher than what it is already. And then number 2 is use the remainder as the answer. So we just take the remainder and that's our answer. And number 3 is drop the remainder. So we just get rid of the remainder and just use the quotient. All right, so we're going to go through a couple of questions together. The first one is Evan and Curtis need to rent water shoes. There are 6 shoes in their size. Will they have enough to choose from? So we have to figure out what the question's asking here, what we need to do. So will they have enough to choose from is the question. So first we have to figure out what our numbers are. We know that we have the number 6 because there's 6 shoes in their size, but how many shoes do Evan and Curtis need to rent? They need to rent how many? Each one of them need to rent 2 because they both have 2 feet. So 2 times 2 is 4. So it'd be 6 divided by 4. So if our long division on the side, we're going to use that. So 4 goes into 6 how many times? 1. So the 1 goes in the quotient. So now we have to do 4 times 1, which is 4. So we have to subtract that from 6. So 6 minus 4 is 2. So what do we do with this number 2? What happens with it? What does it become? Can 4 go into 2? No. So that means it must be the remainder. So how do we label our remainder and where do we put it? We put it beside the quotient with a lowercase r and the number behind it. So that means that our quotient is 1 remainder 2. So now which way do we have to use this remainder? So is it the first one where we round up the quotient? Do we just round 1 to 2 and say that they have 2 to choose from? Or do we use the remainder as the answer, so remainder 2, so they have 2 to choose from? Or do we use number 3, drop the remainder? So the remainder just leaves and we just have the number 1 sitting there. So which one do you think? Well, let's look at our question again. They ask, will they have enough to choose from? That's what we're trying to answer. And that's a yes or a no question. So we don't need the remainder. So we would drop the remainder and just say, is there enough? Can 4 go into 6? Yes. So that means our answer must be yes. They will have enough shoes to choose from. All right, and our next question is, 17 members of the group want to take lessons. The instructor teaches 2 classes of 7 people. How many people will be unable to take lessons? So what are we doing here? What should we be doing? So we are going to be using the numbers 17 and 7. So we're going to be doing 17 divided by 7. So we're going to look at our long division. How many times does 7 go into 17? Go through your 7 times tables. So you can do 7 times 1, which is 7, 7 times 2, which is 14, 7 times 3, which is 21. Oh, but 21 is bigger than 17, which means it must be 7 times 2, which is equal to 14. So the 2 goes above the 7. So 2 times 7 is 14. So we subtract 14 from 17. So 17 minus 14 is 3. So can 7 go into 3? No. So what happens with this 3? It becomes the remainder. And how do we label that again? We do a lowercase r with the 3 behind it. So that means that our quotient is 2 remainder 3. So now which way are we going to use the remainder? Are we going to round up the quotient so that it becomes 3? So how many lessons how many people will be unable to take lessons? 3? Or would we use the remainder as answers? So be 3 people wouldn't be able to take the lessons? Or would we just drop the remainder and say 2 people would be unable to take the lessons? Which one do you think makes the most amount of sense? Ooh, number 2, so use the remainder as the answer. So we know that they can have 2 classes of 7 people, so 7 times 2 is 14. Subtract that from 17, you know there's 3 people left over. So the answer would be 3 people would be unable to take the lessons. All right, the last question we're going to go together is, Each raft can fit 6 people. How many rafts will be needed for the group of 29 people? So we know that we're going to be doing 29 divided by 6. So look at our long division, that's what we're going to be using. So 6 goes into 29 how many times? Think about that for a second. Go through your 6 times tables. So we know that 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 5 is 30. Oh, but 30 is bigger than 29, so that means we have to do 6 times 4. So that means the 4 would go above the 9 and 29. So now we have to do 6 times 4. So 6 times 4 is, we just did this, 24. So now we'd have to subtract 29 minus 24, which is equal to, quickly do that in your head, see if you can do it, be equal to 5. So can 6 go into 5? No. So that means that we don't have to do any more math there. So what happens with the 5? It is the remainder. So how do we label the remainder again? R5. So our quotient is 4, remainder 5. So now which way would we be using the remainder? Would we round up the quotient? Would we use the remainder as the answer? Or would we drop the remainder? So think about this for a second. We have 4 full rafts of 6 people each, and then we have 5 people left over. So what would we do? How many rafts will be needed for the group of 29 people? So we'd round up the quotient. So that means our 4 becomes a 5. So they would need 5 rafts for the group of 29 people. Hopefully this helped you guys grade 4. That's all that I have for you. If you guys need any help at all, just message me, get a hold of me somehow, and I'll be more than happy to help. All right, bye grade 4.